Welcome to One-on-One, the show dedicated to business and the entrepreneurs and leaders that start, run, and own the innovative and interesting companies in our area. I'm your host, Alex Ruggieri. Today's guest is Craig Lindvahl. Craig is a nationally recognized filmmaker and educator. His television work is regularly seen on PBS stations across the country and has been seen on NBC, CNN, and the Learning Channel. His latest documentary is slated to air on the Major League Baseball Network in December. He is a recipient of 12 Mid-America Emmy Awards for producing, writing, camera work, and composing, and the Studs Terkel Award for contributions to the humanities. He's a recipient of the prestigious Millikan National Educator Award, has twice been recognized as a finalist for Illinois Teacher of the Year. He was recently named the Illinois Teacherpreneur of the Year and was also recently honored with a Leaders in Learning Award from the cable television industry. In more than 30 years of teaching, Lindvahl has taught every grade from K through 12, and in his work as a filmmaker and musical director, he has worked in nearly 20 countries and with young people from more than 25 countries. Also, his teaching partner, former Illinois Teacher of the Year, Joe Fothery, Lindvahl has participated in a number of groundbreaking educational endeavors, including the establishment of a nationally known filmmaking program and a new multi-district entrepreneurship class that is funded almost entirely by business investors. Both Lindvahl and Fothery devote a great deal of time to mentoring teachers, encouraging young people to enter the field, and assisting schools in hiring and retaining the best possible teachers. Stay with us today. We will be right back to talk with Craig Lindvahl. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching One-on-One, and my guest today is Craig Lindvahl. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's delightful to be here.
You bet. It's a delight to have you here. And after that introduction, folks, I think, have a sense of quite an impressive resume that you have. This show primarily is conceived around the idea of business leaders, entrepreneurs, inventors, people who run, own, and manage our businesses today. And people, when I invite them on the show, usually are CEOs or, top-level managers. And everybody I was talking to down, in Effingham, Mattoon, Charleston, your name kept coming up. And I said, well, tell me about him. Well, he's a high school teacher. I said, a high school teacher? Yeah, but you have to see the things and learn about the things that he's doing with our students. And I had the good fortune of having to observe something that was going on at Eastern, and I noticed you had brought your entire class to this was an entrepreneurial forum put on by Eastern down in Charleston at Sarah Bush. And I got a chance to meet some of your students and talk to some of your students and learned more about what you're doing, and at that point said, gotta have Craig on the class. Tell us about what you're doing with the kids in your high school.
Well, it's a class that we call CEO, Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities, named by our students. They are students from 6 area high schools. All 6 school districts in the county are participants. It's a class that's funded primarily by business investors, which is what is different about this. So I have 50 or so business partners to whom I answer for things.
Wow.
We don't meet in schools, we meet in businesses. And our curriculum is sort of dictated by who's available and when. It's structured under some overarching principles, but we just take advantage of who will let us come see what they do, who will come in and explain things. Sometimes it's dictated by questions the kids ask me that I can't answer, so we bring somebody in to help understand things. So every day is different, every week is full. There are regularly these successful entrepreneurs who just stop in and out of class to see what's going on and what they might offer. So it's really an unusual experience.
Well, now, is this, you say 6 different high schools participate. Where is the class, or does it rotate?
The class has 4 homes. Each quarter of our school year, it rotates to a new home. Wow. But we move around quite a bit. I mean, yesterday we were out in a business visiting. Today we were out in a business visiting. Some days, 3 or 4 days a week, we'll be out somewhere else. It just sort of depends on the week and the topics that we're covering.
Wow, that is an amazing thing to happen at a high school level. I went through the executive MBA program here in Illinois. They'll take you to China and you get to tour, some factories and or businesses overseas or whatever, or take you to Germany or whatever. But for somebody to have that quality of an experience on a high school level is amazing.
Well, think about this. A couple of weeks ago, when the Cash for Clunkers program was winding up,
Right.
we went to a car dealership, not just to investigate how they do what they do, which is very interesting, but also to ask about, what does this do for you, or what does this do to you? So we find out it brings a lot of new customers in, or customers who might have wanted to wait, but now they're going to trade. But on the flip side of this, there's a lot of cash being laid out for which they haven't been reimbursed. So we find out if a business has not made good decisions before, it's possible the business would be good enough to drive you out. You've got to have enough cash to take care of this.
Right.
A few days later, we went to a place called the Y Yard, which is where those cars end up. You know, we would fall under the umbrella of what we call junkyards, although it's hardly an accurate description of that place. So this is where those vehicles end up. What impact does it have on their business? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What sorts of restraints are they under? Can they get the same thing out of these cars they could get out of others? And then just yesterday, we went to Effingham Truck Sales, which is a place where it's a sort of different part of the transportation industry, but very aware of where we are in the economic cycle. You can sort of predict when we've topped out, and you can sort of predict when we've bottomed out by what happens in the trucking industry.
Oh, well, great. Do you have any predictions for us after your visit?
I would say that based on my year of experience in this arena, that it would appear that trailer sales are picking up, manufacturing capacity seems to be picking up a bit, and those are both indicators that there's more stuff going out and there's hope.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, to me, that is fascinating as you describe it. It reminded me of the story of the father and the little boy, and the little boy is looking at the water going down the drain in the sink. And there's two responses to that. The enlightened father says, well, let's open the cabinet doors and take a look, okay? And then you see the P-trap, and he explains, well, the reason that pipe is shaped that way is so it traps some sewer gases, but the water goes through that, and then it goes down. And let's go down in the basement. And he takes him down to the basement, and he shows him, well, see, now that's where the pipe goes out to the street. Well, then he takes him out to the street, and he shows him the manhole cover, and the little boy says, you know, where does it go from there? And he says, well, get in the car. We're going to drive down to, and they go down to the sewage treatment plant, and then they go through that thing. Now, compare that answer. That's something like what you're doing with those kids.
It's precisely that, and that makes our students active seekers of information as opposed to passive recipients.
And can you imagine the young child who asked his father that question? His father said, it goes down the drain. Leave me alone, you know, and that's what our kids get most of the time.
I wish I could say that wasn't true, but that's the way we've done things for a long time.
Fortunately, yeah. Well, your method of teaching has got to be positive, have a huge positive, constructive impact on these kids.
There's no question that their lives are completely different after having this experience of this class, meeting the people they meet, having the experiences that they have, the breadth of knowledge that they gain from these visits. I have business people tell me all the time, I want to be in the class. I want to go see how these places work.
Yeah. How many students are participating?
There's 19 students in the class who go through an application procedure to get in.
So it's competition almost. It's that popular of a class.
It's a wonderful experience, and the kids, it's a self-selling class because the kids who have been in it say, you got to do this. This is the most amazing thing you'll ever do.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. And the businesses that participate, do they participate with contributions of money for the program, or contributions in kind, or maybe donate their time, or all of the above?
All of those things. We've got about 50 business partners that provide the bulk of the funding. We've got people who just come in and out of the class offering their expertise, people who serve as mentors, people who allow us to come visit their businesses. So there's a complete range of things that people do to help make the class successful.
Now, these same 19 kids go to all 4 of the locations as they move around?
It's a one-year program, so each quarter they go with us to wherever we go.
Is there a principal sponsoring school, or is all 4, what are the 4 high schools involved?
It's Teutopolis, Beecher City, Effingham, St. Anthony, Diedrich, and Altamont high schools are all involved.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Run by an advisory committee that is made up of educators, administrators, and business people.
Well, I'd like to hear the story of how you actually got this program started. and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the program and how long it's been running and how you started it and the history of that, because I just can't imagine what you had to do to get it off the ground, and I think that would be very interesting for our viewers to hear. So we have to take a short break, but when we come back, could you tell us a story of how you conceived of this program and how you got it off the ground?
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Well, please stay with us. We're talking with Craig Lindvahl. Craig is a high school teacher in entrepreneurship class down in Effingham, and we'll be right back after the break. Stay with us. Hi, you're watching One-on-One. I'm your host, Alex Ruggieri. This is a show about business, and we have a very interesting guest today, Craig Lindvahl. Craig is a high school teacher and a teacher of an entrepreneurship class down in Effingham. We were talking just before the break. How did you get this project started, and how did you conceive of it? I mean, tell us the story.
It's a very cool beginning to this, which I had nothing to do with. My teaching partner, Joe Fothery, who was Illinois Teacher of the Year at the time, he took a former student of ours with him to film a conversation with Jack Schultz, a very successful entrepreneur in our area. And when they left Jack's office, this student said to Joe, "Every kid in America ought to do what I just did. I learned more sitting, listening to that guy than I've learned in a lot of things I've done." And Joe thought, you know, we should do that. We absolutely should do that. So over the course of, I don't want to make it sound easier than it was, but over the course of the next couple of years, plans were made, curriculum was sort of drawn up. What would the class do? What would this look like? Joe Fothery and Jack Schultz went out, and in 2 or 3 days, they raised $150,000 to fund the class to get it going.
Goodness. Now, what to fund the class? What did you have to do? Buy cameras and
By me.
Oh, by you and yeah,
a teacher. It was the main expense.
Okay.
And so then they approached me and said, "Would you be interested in teaching this class?"
And how did they tap you out?
Well, I gave a talk about education and technology and innovation and where we're headed in this world. And I still have the message on my answering machine from Karen Walters, another great entrepreneur in our area, who said, "Could we just talk to you about this?" And I told them, frankly, you know, at this point in my teaching career, I'm not looking to start something new.
Right.
I don't need that in my life. But I would be willing, under these circumstances, to talk about it. You know, you have to make it, you have to replace things in my life, not add to them. And so over the course of several months, they negotiated some of my time away from the school district and paid for that and figured out how all that would work. And then I just embarked on this journey where after 30 years I finally fit. This is the first time I've really fit as a teacher. I've been an accidental entrepreneur in education all these years, realizing that I didn't really fit, but I just have done some research. This is interesting, that entrepreneurs generally, according to this researcher, don't see themselves as risk takers because they're so sure it's going to work. They're perceived as risk takers by others because they see nothing but the risk.
Right.
But the entrepreneur says, this is not that risky.
He sees nothing but the upside. Yeah,
because this is going to happen. And I can see as an educator, I've always been like that, where I've said, you know what would be cool? And do you know what would be amazing? Do you know what our kids would love to do? And sometimes, you know, people I work for have been more like, boy, I don't know. I'm not sure about this. But I've always been sure it would be cool and fun no matter what happened. So this is perfect. There's no textbook. There's no real plan. I get to make it up as I go. I can say, I don't know, and it's a legitimate answer. There's these wonderful business people who can answer questions I don't understand. So it's a perfect environment. I'm comfortable with people coming in and out of our class all the time. It's just tailor-made for a guy like me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And the school board went along with it then?
All 6 school boards went along, and my school district was gracious enough to say, yes, we will let you buy half of his day to do these things. And so they are flexible enough that they see value in this. And they say it'd be great for our kids to be a part of this, so we will help on our end by working schedule things around to make this happen. It's really a remarkable thing, but it's not something that couldn't happen in a lot of other places.
Well, see, what I was thinking while you were talking is the same thing that occurred to that young man the day he visited with Jack Schultz. I'm thinking every school district in America should have a program like this.
And they can.
Yes.
You know, it needs a business community that is connected with